You're listening to Squatch Talks Podcast. Real stories and real encounters told by real researchers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We just got back from an expedition out in the forests of Pennsylvania. Nathan and I were the organizers, and we had about 14 other people along the ride with us, not counting our wives. But yeah, beautiful place, lots of previous activity.
Yeah.
And we made it out alive. So here we are once again. Right, Nate?
That's right. A little worse for the wear this time, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I just remembered my bruised rib.
Yeah.
It's a little better today, actually, but I was in a lot of pain. I don't know if anybody noticed or not, but I know you were suffering also in pain with the back and the head, and yeah, man, we're getting too old for this shit. So
I know it's getting rough. It's getting rough. Harder to heal.
Takes longer, but I wasn't able to do the howls, like, the calls like I would like to, because taking a breath in wasn't as easy with the bruised rib. And sleeping was more difficult, of course.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was.
And then I realized, I brought CBD gel with me, the best. Okay. I didn't even put it on until like last night. So today I'm feeling better.
There you go. But we had a lot on our minds for 4 days, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of work herding cats, man. I'm telling you. It's fun though.
It was fun, and I had a good time. It's great to hang out with you and Terry and Heather and I, and we love just spending time with you in the forest. But this time we had some other guests. Of course, Patty came down from New York and joined us.
That's right.
And we had Ben come out again and do his presentation on Friday night with the PowerPoint about the evolution of Sasquatch, which is one of the videos on our first season, I think. Wasn't it first season, or was that second season? We'll figure it out. And I'll put a little card up here, right up in there. Okay, there'll be a little card you can go and check out Ben on the evolution of Sasquatch.
Yeah,
he did a great job.
Yeah, that's very informative.
So as far as presentations go, I'm saying we didn't do as many as the one you had the previous year.
Right.
Of course, they had to sit through me doing an equipment demo. What a snooze fest that was. And then we did the track casting demo. Okay. I did a cast of the Patterson Gimlin. I'm looking behind me. I'm saying, where the hell's the cast? I forgot to put them back.
How did it turn out? I didn't even get to see it turn out.
Something's missing. Oh, it turned out great. It turned out great. And I also had taken along a couple of the juvenile ones that were found in. I'm dropping some dust on my computer here. But this is one of the juvie casts that I had done a recast because I told Art, who found them in April, that I would. So hang on before I do get any sand on my laptop. Because Patty was great. I thought we were going to have to use the fire pit. Remember the fire pits I was going to stick them into, and they'd get all dirty and gray. So this is a juvie from April. Okay. So that I did because I promised to make Art some recasts of them since he found them. Clean this off. But Patty said, hey, Eric, how about this pile of gravel? It's like a very fine gravel, I guess they use for, I don't know, the roads or whatever, but it was perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know what that was, like screenings there. Yeah, it was good stuff.
That worked out great. So after the presentation with the equipment, we shifted over to the track casting. After that, while the casts were drying, we made dinner, right? And fed the troops. After dinner, we did the trivia contest.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Trivia. Yeah.
We had the BFRL handbook trivia contest. And Patty and Heather did very well.
Yeah.
And Sheldon managed to come in points in third place. Patty, Heather, and then Sheldon. But I said, of course, I'm sorry, Patty, you're an investigator. Heather, you're an investigator, but also my wife. How would it look if you girls get the win? You win the prize. There'd be some, It's fixed, right?
Right.
So Sheldon was the recipient of the recast of the Patterson Gimlin trackcast, and
Good.
she was thrilled. Afterwards, the next day, she actually had me write on there the date and the expedition, and she had me sign it and autograph it for her.
Cool.
So she was really, I think, happy to go home with that. As
Yeah,
a
that's
consolation prize, Heather and Patty got some stickers from Ben, who has designed some really cool stickers. And I told him, hey, I'll show you how to get a Teespring account and you can market this stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that I'm any good
Sure.
at it because I'm still working on ours. But hey, first off, got to thank our sponsors, right? Black Rifle Coffee Company. They've helped us to get through those long nights. Indeed, I brought you some, remember?
That's
And,
right.
I
Yeah.
bet you enjoyed having the extra one I gave you yesterday on the way home.
And in the morning, yeah.
Nothing keeps you squatching like Black Rifle Coffee Company. And when I got home, of course, I unloaded all the stuff, right? And got in the shower and I used my Forest Fresh Yeti bar.
That's right.
Mm,
Yeti
that,
bar fresh.
that hit the spot. So should we talk a little bit about what happened? Give them some.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thursday night we had those were some pretty good howls Thursday night when we went down to that campsite 5,
Right.
down in the hollow there. Took everybody. That's a nice creepy spot. Creek's not too far away. It's down at the bottom of the hollow, good and vulnerable. Probably a bad spot if there's a lot of mountain lions around. We would probably sit in ducks,
Right.
But that's usually the best place to go if you want to get apex predators to know you're there and to come around and look at you. But there we did some provocations.
Didn't we
Go
take
ahead.
a hike with one of the attendees? You, me, and was that you,
Yeah.
me? Yeah.
You, me, and
Tim.
Robert. Tim. That's right. It was Tim.
And didn't we find a little print of a predator? I think it was
at least a bobcat.
At least a bobcat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely bobcat track, which is probably the first one I've ever seen. So, and I look for bobcat and cougar tracks all the time, specifically. And that's probably the first one I've ever seen out there.
And I also recall, I think there were some rocks thrown.
Oh yeah, that was at Ben, right?
At Ben.
Yeah. I know we heard some things rustling, and somebody thought they saw some. Was that Patty thought she saw something, or no? It was Tammy, I think. Tammy thought she saw something, and Ben walked out there, and he threw some rocks, and they came back. Well, I don't know if it was the same rock, but one came back, rolled right to him.
Yeah, and so what did we do? We wound up hanging out for a while. We tried a few more provocations. I know I did a few calls, and there was a couple of other attendees that got to try out their vowels, go through their vowels, and we hung out for a pretty long while. And then 2 of the teams headed back to base camp, but we left, right? Ben and his team.
Right. They stayed there for about a half an
15,
hour.
20 minutes, I thought. Yeah.
See if anything happens. They knocked the fire down, made sure that was out, and just see if anything comes around to see what we were up to.
Right.
And we said,
very squatchy spot though.
Yeah.
Get back there again someday.
Yeah.
And that was Thursday night. We had arrived early, you and I.
On Wednesday, yeah.
You, Patty, Robert Belli was there also Wednesday. So I didn't get there till after 10,
So we were done sitting your
Michigan Mike. Is it Wisconsin? Michigan Mike.
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah. Yeah. Until you were done setting up your tent, it was midnight.
Yeah. And the way the place is laid out, you guys were all on the one end of the this field, and I was with Heather in the opposite, on the far corner. So it's just the 2 of us down there. I'm thinking, gonna have some action, gonna come up on our tent. So I put the trail camera behind, and
Did you look at them pictures yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm a little slow.
No, it's all right. Just asking.
I was listening to some of the audio from our Friday night activities, so I guess we could
Yeah.
jump into that. But yeah, Wednesday night we thought we heard some movement around the tent, and you said you also heard Wednesday night something, I think, behind your tent, if I'm not mistaken. So I just wanted to take a step back to Wednesday night. We always like to get there early if possible, and we were able to make that happen. So that was cool. So Thursday, and we didn't intend, I personally didn't intend on doing dinners every night, but we wound up doing dinners every night for the attendees, right?
Yeah, that's nice to do it when it's small like that too.
Especially when it's small like that.
Yeah.
But Friday we had some time during the day because I rearranged the schedule. I canceled my equipment demo, pushed it onto Saturday. So Heather and I took a ride back down to Gettysburg and explored down there for the paranormal.
That's right.
Finding this paranormal store, which actually is in a place that's haunted. I forget the woman's name, but she's pretty famous down there for, being a ghost, I guess.
Oh.
So, Heather, I'm sure would know the name, but so yeah, I got back in the afternoon with her, and then we set up our, the rest of the day. Friday night we did the Pied Piper routine, but in a modified way.
Okay.
Remember, we had the teams walk out of base camp after dark. Well, we had dinner, of course, did all that stuff. Ben did his presentation, which was great. And so after his presentation, we all, went back, got our stuff together and met back up at your area for night ops. So then we divided into the women and the men. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. This is the one I missed.
That was the one you had to hang back at camp, right? So I had the women versus the men. So it was 9 guys and 8 women.
Wow.
And so we headed out from base camp down the forest road. Then we made the right there onto one of the ATV trails. And while Ben was doing his presentation, Terry and Patty and I went to scout it out beforehand, so we could kind of determine where the groups would be. Okay. So that we had done preliminary scouting. And so I decided that the guys and I would go down the trail to the left, which is more rocky and narrow and muddy, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And the women would go straight at that intersection to a spot where we had been the year before. And if you recall, Crystal gets sometimes a little stomach distress, right? So that was the spot that we decided that the ladies would go down to and set up. Okay. And what I meant by modifying it was there would be no hunkering down group.
Okay.
So because of the way it split off, it just made sense. There's really no place for a group to hunker down securely. The guys went to the left, the women went straight, got in position. And then about 45 minutes, almost an hour into it, that's when I radioed the ladies and asked them to do a knock. Okay.
Okay.
And the cool thing was that both teams had knocking instruments. That, that's one thing we should check before we go out.
Yeah, make sure both teams have what they need. Yes.
And I did. I had asked Patty, do you have something to do knocks with? And she assured me they did. So meanwhile, the ladies, turns out, are having things thrown at them. And they're hearing stuff, right? Because from where their position was, there was a lot of, inner like forest in between us.
Yeah.
And there was an elevation change. Okay. We weren't hearing anything, but the guys, we were looking at this light through the woods. Okay. It looked like a star through the trees, but it wasn't a star. And then we noticed that there's a red light to the right of the white light. And it wasn't as bright as the one that I saw last year on Dead Woman's Hollow.
Okay.
Right across the trail from us. But anyway, Ben actually walked into the woods about 50 feet, 70 feet into the woods to try to get an idea of what it was.
Okay.
I had him on therm while he was in there just in case something came up on him. And it turns out there's a farm down there. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so it was, at least we figured out what it was. But so then we decided to, start the provocations, and I had the ladies. Actually, what I did was I said, I'm going to start with one knock, and then you do a return knock in 20 to 30 seconds afterwards. And then we'll kind of do a back and forth volley where you repeat what I do. Okay. And we had clear radio communication, which is also good. So we started that off, giving a little time in between also to listen for responses. So I did a knock, like I said, then they waited, they did a knock, we listened, recording with the stick mic, also with the Kimber audio. Yeah, and it was pretty quiet on our end. Now on their end, however, they were hearing some strange, what sounded like howls. Okay. I heard an owl at one point, a barred owl definitely went off. I have that ability to, stir them up, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
And so this went on for about an hour of that. And I said to the guys, because we had 9 on our team, I said, hey, I don't have any problem with, some of us continuing further up the trail and starting another, satellite camp, and we can kind of triangulate. Right.
Right.
So Ben led a group of 4 other people into, down the trail further. And we were waiting for them to get set up before we did anything else. Then we see red lights approaching. What's going on? And we see these people coming out. Turns out it's Ben and the other guys. I'm like thinking they got chased out by something. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in actuality, they went through a portal or something, and they manifested back at our location. And I was like, what happened? So I guess the trail must have wrapped around or made a right and a left, and then he wound up back here. I said, well, he must have gone through a portal.
That's right. Had to be.
They turned around and then they made it out to another location, set up another camp, and that's when we started doing some triangular provocations, including some whoops and some other things. It wasn't earth shattering, but like I said, the ladies had some activity, and we had some fun doing the provocations. Brian was on, your brother-in-law Brian was on my team, and we were having some. And that was next night with the radios. I'll get to that. But yeah, some high strangeness occurring.
Well, and it was neat that the ladies went back to that same spot, because Crystal, her stomach was all tied up when she was there.
Right.
Then when they moved, that's when Patty took the picture of that thermal hit that she got, which was bigger than what we looked like when we came walking back up to her. But the Kira was sitting on the same rock and had the same, stomach got all knotted up. She didn't feel well. She didn't say anything, but then when she finally did say something, it sounded like a man whispered in her ear. Ooh. So then they moved, and yeah, I don't remember if she told me what he said. I gotta ask.
Something to that extent, actually.
I believe it was.
Yeah.
And they moved up 50 feet, and everything was fine.
That same thing happened the year before.
Yep, exact same place, exact same thing.
Right.
They had the K2 meter there, and they said it was going all kinds of crazy. So something else was going on too, which is neat to document. That there's multiple things happening at the same time.
Right.
And it's not always necessarily Bigfoot.
Nope, not at all. So I think after that, the other Charlie team came back and regrouped with our location. Okay. And at that point, I was thinking, hey, why don't we head back towards base camp? So I radioed the ladies group, and they were already thinking about the same thing, to come back. So we just so happened, I said, oh, and I said, why don't you ladies sing on the way back? Or Patty might even have said, "Hey, would you like us to sing?" I said, "Absolutely." Ladies lilting voices. And so that was, we met up at the intersection, and all of us returned back to base camp, and they recanted some of the things that occurred on their end.
Right.
So I don't recall what else happened Friday night. I think there was not too much after we got back to base camp. As far as, oh, you know what? We kept hearing what potentially were things thrown at us too, at our tents. At least
Okay.
Josh and Heather and Heather and I in my tent. That those three at the end there.
Yeah.
And then Ben was around the corner in his bear burrito. So we had a couple of bear burrito attendees.
Isn't that what Josh was sleeping into?
Josh also, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I know Ben had something touch him while he was laying in his hammock too. He had something, it threw something at him, and then something hit him on the shoulder.
That's right.
And Josh had something thrown at him too, and he said it landed right next to his hammock.
Yes, and I witnessed that.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
I witnessed it. Yeah, that was the final night.
Okay.
That was Saturday night. But I'll get to that portion. Don't let me forget. But that was pretty funny. Because I think, yeah. So hey, we're up to Saturday now, right? It pretty much takes care of Friday. I don't want to keep you all night. Both tired. But Saturday we did the breakfast for everybody. I cooked bacon, hash browns, eggs. Forgot to add the cheese until the end, but hey, we made it work. Expedition grill from Camp Stove, right? What's it called? Camp Stove?
Camp Chef.
Camp Chef. Thank you. Got to plug all our sponsors tonight. But did a good job. Everybody was fed, and then we had like some time to go scouting and do some stuff on our own. So you guys went to the area where there was a cemetery and there was a hill.
Oh yeah, we went to the cemetery. And
why don't you pick it up there?
Yeah, we went to the cemetery road, trying to find where the old cemetery was and see if we could, get anything happening there. We found where the area was, but it's just all grown up. Couldn't find anything. Then we went to the prisoner of war camp. We were checking that out, walking around, and then the ladies had it was Heather, Terry, and Patty were coming back, and something growled at them. Nobody could see what it was, but Kira had the presence of mind to just start snapping pictures all around in the woods and in the ground cover nearby. And turns out there was a black bear growled at him, and he wasn't too far away. So that was pretty neat. And
you sent me those images, so we could theoretically add that right about here. And still learning how to cut and paste, but I think there's ways I can actually do it without there being dead air. So go ahead, continue, please.
But yeah, then we got back at what time did we got back at 4:00? Then that was when you did your equipment demo and the track casting, and then we had dinner.
I thought it was appropriate though how we had the pavilion right there behind
to use it.
and it's just, for me personally, I'm saying it was appropriate because on my first expedition that I did when Matt asked me to organize in 2014, we had a pavilion just like that, and I did an equipment demo in the pavilion just like that with the attendees around. You know what I mean? And
it works nice.
Brought back good memories.
Yeah. I should have used that last year instead of being on the other end. But anyway,
sorry to interrupt.
Then we had dinner, and then we went down to Dead Woman's Hollow again, and we went over to the cabin that had a report that people were around in the back of the cabin, and it Sasquatch came in and didn't like him being out there, so it harassed him and scared him back into the cabin. Then it was smacking the cabin all night and making all kinds of noise, first
And
light, they packed up and left and never came back.
is that cabin abandoned at the
No, it's
present
not
time?
abandoned. It's a rental.
It's a rental. Okay.
Yeah. You can rent that, I believe.
Well, that's what we should do.
Yeah. I believe we're gonna have to.
Get me the
But,
address.
then that was my team. I had
You had 5, I think, on your team. You had
there was
Terry, and you had Tim and
Tammy
Sheldon.
and
That's 4, and
Tammy,
Tammy, and those
Suzanne
ladies,
and
Suzanne
Kira. Yeah.
Kira.
So we had 7, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you took the rest of everybody else up the hill. See if we can't find your time thingy and your get some howls back. But
and this time I remembered my chair.
Yeah.
And I remember to turn on my
recorder,
my recording device. Yes. But the funny thing was, and let me tell you, phew, hiking up that hill with a bruised rib was even worse. Okay. And I tried to, not let on that I was in pain, of course. I was in the lead, and Ben took up the rear, and he made sure that he had a head count and everything. So we knew that how many went in, came out. So we got up to that first location where we had stopped last year, when I noticed the individuals complaining about, me working them too hard. And it's funny, Bob. And it was funny though, because we were there almost precisely the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And so I didn't do any provocations or anything. I just, okay, let's do what we did last time. We're going to open up our zippers on our packs, get set up, make sure our devices are on, and make sure that there's no radios on that are on, Roger beeps, no camera equipment that would go off and go, So I'm looking at my watch, and I'm just thinking to myself, now, we didn't have any daylight savings this year, right? I don't know when that would be.
Not yet.
Well, it's canceled now, from what I understand. So there's no more
really?
daylight savings. Yeah. And I wonder, because there was no daylight savings the last, I don't know how it all works. I'm just saying, as far as time variance go, did that affect the timing of this evening?
Oh, it might have.
But at 10:34, we didn't have anything screaming at us or howling from across the ridge,
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to do a call, and I radioed down to you and, told you I'm going to do. So I actually wound up doing 2 calls, because I started to do them like the moneymaker ones with the higher pitched, and then another one a minute or so later, a little louder. You know what I mean? Normally I will do 3, but I left it at 2. Didn't get any response from that. No coyotes or anything. So at that point, we decided to hike up. Let's go up, or did I leave them there? I'm trying to remember. I think we all went a little further. That's what it was. We went up to that second location, where it kind of levels off again. And it's nice and wide there, and it's a big opening, so it's better for doing provocations. So then we set up another base camp there. And then I took most of the team with me. I think 4 or 5 remained at that location. The rest came with me, and we continued on. And I'll tell you what, it got cold again. We got to that point in the trail where it bends to the right.
Yep.
It got 10 degrees colder. I could see the mist coming out of my mouth, the vapor. The wind whipped up, same as like last time. So we got up to an area. Again, I said, I'm not going to attempt to reach that clearing that you guys had the trap, set up on.
Yeah.
It looked similar to where we were the year before with me and Tony and Jeff. So we set up there, and we started doing some back and forth provocations. Sketchy radio communication, but we were
once you made it to that second spot, I couldn't hear you anymore. I could still hear
Patty,
Patty's group, but I couldn't hear yours.
And I figured that would be like the relay, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So you would
Hmm.
at least know what's going on. And it was good that I had suggested we do the clicking thing, because if you can't hear, at least you can click a response, you know, one for no, two for yes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's good to have. Um, but yeah, we were not getting anything. And so Josh does this like Tibetan throat thing, throat
Yeah.
music.
I wanted to
Okay.
hear it. I wanted to hear him do
Oh
it.
my God, it was so good. And we tried that, did a one or two knocks, I forget. And then I had Brian with his singing bowl
Hmm.
and Josh with the Tibetan music doing it. Oh, and I had lit an incense, the dragon's blood incense, of course. But you know, but the thing is, I'm standing there and this is all going on. And I'm like looking over to my left, hoping I'm going to see that headlamp looking at me again, you know, but
Right. Right.
you can't manifest that kind of stuff into it. You gotta, that happens, you
Yeah.
know, you can't make that happen on its own.
No, unfortunately. Otherwise, we'd have him walking up and shaking our hand at base camp, and we wouldn't have to hike so far.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that, because at base camp before we left that night, we heard that howl,
Yeah.
right?
The only thing I didn't like about that was what,
The voice
45
came,
minutes later, that four-wheeler came up the trail.
and the scouts had just shown up too, not long
Yeah.
before that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so who knows? But it was a pretty decent sounding howl.
It was. It was pretty far off too, a little further away than what I think that four-wheeler was.
I think Patty and Jacob and those individuals on her team heard this really strange bird sound.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure Jacob followed up on it, and it turned out to be a screech owl,
Screech owl. Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yep.
But at the time, we didn't know what it was.
Hmm.
At the end of things, when you know we weren't getting any results, I had said to my team, I said, "Hey, Nathan said if we don't get any results here, we can go down to the reservoir."
Right.
So I posed that option, and they were all hot to go. So we started hiking back down and met up with Patty and her team about I would say 75 yards from their location.
Hmm.
We came across a small 4-inch diameter tree across the trail, broken in
Oh, that's
multiple
right.
places,
Hmm.
which wasn't there on the way up. I remember them saying, "You remember this on the way up?" I said, "No, I definitely would have remembered it, because I always kick stuff out of my way on the
Right.
way up
Right.
in order for the people behind me not to trip on it and to, you
Hmm.
know, make it clear for the return trip." I would have definitely noticed that. So that was interesting. We got back down to Patty's location, and Ben walked back up and tried recreating what it would have sounded like had it fallen from their location, if they would have
Hmm.
heard it, because they said they didn't hear anything, just the bird, which came from that direction, by the way. Okay.
Right. Right.
Um, it's possible it was a fairly dead tree. It's
Hmm.
possible a screech owl might have
Could have,
landed on it
and it broke. Yeah,
and
it could
knocked
have.
it over. Yeah,
Hmm.
that could
Because Ben said
explain
when
it.
he was dropping it,
Ben
see if
was
they could hear it.
exactly. Ben was dropping it. The first time he dropped it, we could not hear. The second and third time, and again, he changed the height of how
Like,
far he dropped it. Okay.
yeah.
Um, and the second and third time we could hear it. So
Okay.
who knows? It could have been the screech owl landed on the tree, knocked it over, and then, you know, vocalized and kept going.
Hmm.
But that's good. Again, good
Yeah.
follow up. So
Oh, one thing. The other thing, Sheldon, she was the only one that smelled it when we were down at the behind the cabin. She had a sewer smell, like a rotting, like sewage. Nobody else really smelled it, but went away immediately. So
interesting, because we too, on the way up to our location, had some various oral factory
hmm.
input. I remember one smelled like cinnamon. Another one had like a really musty, wet dog kind of smell. Okay.
Okay.
So at various intervals, we were picking up certain, you know, odors. Yeah.
Yeah,
So there
everything
was some of
seems
that.
normal.
There was some of that as well on our end. Um, and again, at I guess around 1:30 ish, Oh, and I tried the time variant thing too. So I made a note of when we were going up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And when we came back, it was 11:34, I think, when we were hiking up that portion of the trail. On the way back, it was like 12:45. I forget exactly, but so again, no time variant issues this time, as far as we could tell. Once we met up with Patty's team and we all started to hike back down. Oh, and a few of us did report some stomach tightness, some twisted stomach
Oh, yeah.
feelings.
Okay.
I noticed
Yep.
it also back up there on the furthest point. So again, could just be from the hike after having eaten a big meal.
Right. Right.
That could do it. But when we got back down, some of the I always leave it open again to the attendees and their comfort level. And I said, hey, who wants to go to the reservoir? Or who wants to go back to base camp? So I made that option available, and 4 of them wanted to go back to base camp. So the other 5 of us, your team had already gone back to base camp.
Yeah, I held them there as long as I could.
You did a good job.
As soon as I said, this one person said they had to go to the bathroom, I was like, well, we can go back. Boy, they couldn't get in the car fast enough. I think everybody was a little sleepy at that point.
A little bit. Saturday nights, that's usually the case.
Yeah.
So I was going to originally have Ben take the other guys out to the reservoir, and I was going to be that guy and head back to base camp. So I said, you know how to get back to base camp, right? He says, yeah. I said, okay, you take them back. I'll take them out. So we headed out to the reservoir, got set up at a really good location, I thought, under as far as the canopy of pine trees right on the edge of the reservoir.
Yeah.
You could hear a babbling brook. I thermed the area, didn't see anything except the hot rock from across the lake where Heather and I had been earlier in the day, with the deck that overlooks the lake. But unlike last year when the team went over by the boat ramp and it was really windy and I felt too open, we were on the opposite end in that little cove where it's real secluded. So you know where I'm talking, because you showed me the entrance. So we hiked down that trail, set up a little base camp, thermed. Jacob brought his recorder with him.
Oh, yeah.
And so played some tunes for us on the recorder. I showed how to do a knock, and then Josh did a knock with the squaw stick. Did a couple of calls, possibly heard something just out of the far range of our hearing, but we weren't getting anything. So about 2:30, I said, hey, I don't want to be a party pooper, I said, but I'm going to call it.
Right.
And we continued driving down the road, figuring, hey, maybe we'll get a road crossing,
right,
rather than turning around and saying going back out on the main road. And I thought I was going to go past that tent, that camping site where you had your encounter,
got roared at,
where you got roared at. But I think the road forks there.
Yeah, you would have had to back up.
I would have had to back up the hill that way.
Yeah,
I went straight. So I ultimately came out on the right road and knew where I was, but I never wound up passing that.
Yeah,
which is a shame, because the other road, after you go past that camping site, it's like there's a lot of open areas.
Yeah, it's good for therming up there.
I said to the guys, it'll be great for therming up there.
Yeah.
We never got there. But at that point, it was close to 3 o'clock. By the time we got back to base camp, it was 3:15. Okay.
Yeah.
I dropped the guys off, and Robert was actually still up and like kind of looked bummed out that we didn't want to hang out by the fire with him. But I'm like, you know what, Robert, I'm tired.
I don't think he was that bummed out, because I had just gone to bed right before he got there. And he said, yeah, I'm just going to knock this out and go to bed myself. So I don't know that he was all that bummed out.
Good. I'm glad. I hate to disappoint anybody, you know that. So I dropped the guys off at their tents, pulled into my spot, and I came back out just to unwind after I got, everything in the tent. I came back out to unwind and look at the stars a little bit. So it's about 3:20. And I hear from behind my tent going towards Josh's burrito, something come through the trees and hit the ground behind Heather's tent, between Heather's tent and Josh's burrito.
Yeah.
I see the tactical light come on. It's going like this.
Uh-huh.
And I'm watching like,
Uh-huh.
But I definitely heard it too, so I can confirm that something
Was thrown at.
apparently
Yeah.
was thrown at us, not just dropping from a tree.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded a lot heavier than an acorn falling. I've heard plenty of them,
Right.
So I'm sitting out there in my gravity chair, the one I'm talking about.
Yep.
Just like this, kick back, looking at the stars, and of course that's behind me. So I went, But
yeah, when we were sitting there from like 1 o'clock to almost 3, we were sitting there because when I brought them back to the bathroom, and then I went back down to see if Patty wanted to come along back with me. And I passed Ben coming back to base camp. So I just kept going, made the left at that 4-way stop sign, and came all the way up that long ass dirt road, and hoping again for the road crossing.
Yeah.
We did see an owl. We saw a nice big owl. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, what brand owl it was, but it was a big one.
It may have been the screech owl that paid a visit to Patty's group.
And then we got back, sat at the fire for a while. We had possible knocks. Patty and I heard a vocalization that neither one of us was real sure about what it was. Like even what the sound was exactly. We got to get together and talk about what that noise was. I hope she got it on her recorder, because mine, I don't know if it was at a bad spot where I had it or what, but it just didn't get anything real good back at base camp. So,
and I usually leave a recorder back at base camp going. I didn't do that this time. I didn't leave my digital recorder in the tent overnight to pick up my snoring sounds. You know what I mean? It's just, you do a number of these things. Some things fall through the cracks, other things don't. But one thing I forgot to mention though. Remember what we talked about? 2 things I forgot to mention.
Okay.
Friday night when you were resting, and we didn't have any activity on the Pied Piper. That's what it was. I said to the ones who wanted to, hey, who wants to go therming the apple orchards?
That's right. Yeah.
Remember we talked about doing that?
Yeah.
I'm glad I got the chance to do it. That was fun. So we had two vehicles, and in my team, we had a couple of therms and some night vision camera recording equipment. I was in the lead, and we did this big loop.
Yeah.
So we went therming the apple orchards and
cool.
Saw some hot, targets, a few deer and stuff like that. At one point, I was therming while driving.
I'm sure that was safe.
And Josh took the wheel for me at one point, and we're coming up on his farm, and I saw something big, heat signature, right? I said, and I stopped. And it moved to the side. It ducked behind the tree.
Yeah.
So I told Brian, I said, back up, so I could back up to see the next row.
Yeah.
By that time, it was gone. So it looked different than a deer. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Again, I won't be able to say for sure because of the distance, but it's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully Josh got some of it on his night vision camera. He was also taking video of us at various times, because that was the other thing. That was the one thing I forgot to mention, therming the apple orchards. The other thing, shoot, that quick it went out of my head. But there was also, we had talked about interviewing that guy up the street from the apple orchard who has that Bigfoot cutout.
Right.
We never got around to doing that.
I drove past there again. I don't want to stop in there.
The cutout's still there though, right?
The cutout's still there. He has other mannequins on the porch doing various poses and doing different things. And I don't think I want to stop in there anymore.
Okay. There you go. See, it wasn't meant to be.
Was not meant to be. We drove past that, and 3 people in the car. It's like, I'm not stopping in there. They're like, that's mannequins. I ain't doing that.
Nope. Hide behind the chainsaws.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't need to go in there.
All right, cool.
So,
Well, I'm happy that we didn't. I thought
yeah,
about it, just didn't get to it.
yeah.
So then Saturday night, after everything was said and done, like I said, I heard that whatever it was coming through the trees landing
Mhm.
by Josh's area. So the tactical light come on, he's scoping around, then he proceeded to go to bed. Heather's light was on in her tent. She had left her light on the whole time.
Yeah,
It's her
the
first time
entire
camping in
exactly.
like a while, So I was happy that she did make it though, and
She had a good
and
time. Yeah.
had a good time, Um, oh gosh, I'm telling you, I'm still feeling the effects. But what
Mhm.
do I do when I get home, right? After getting some rest, I head out to the forest and the Pine Barrens today. I
Yeah.
went back to that area where the individual had the samurai chatter 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Headed out there, set up my truck and the drone out there. Oh, that's what it was. That's where I knew I'd remind myself. I attached the drone, no, the therm to the
To the
drone.
drone. Right.
And that was something we did Friday before dinner and Ben's presentation. I had made
That's right. Yeah.
a drone flight with the therm. And hey, it was the first attempt. Again, should have probably practiced this beforehand, but I had the mount on the drone that allowed me to connect the therm, so it was hanging down, and I
Mhm.
talked to the therm by my phone, and the tablet talked to the drone, just like we talked
Right.
about.
Yep. Yep.
And I got it up in the air, So it's pretty cool. We got some footage. All right.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I did it
Definitely.
today. So again, I'm practicing, you know what I mean? So I went
Right.
out there and I tried to recreate it. And it works.
Good.
It's just there's a lag.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a definite 7-8 second lag.
Yeah.
And I think the weight of the drone, the weight of the therm affects the performance of the drone.
Oh, I'm sure it does,
It
because it's
definitely
on
does.
side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I did one flight with that today, brought it back in, and I'm like, oh shit, now I gotta land the drone with the lens in the sugar sand, right? So
Oh yeah.
I let it hover while I got a tarp out of the truck. I put that down so I could land it on the tarp instead. So then I took off the drone, or the therm, and I
Mhm.
flew again without it, and I got some cool footage of the
Good.
area around where this samurai chatter incident occurred. And then I took about an hour-long hike, and I filmed it as I went.
Good.
I had the camera on my hip, so that if I did have a Squatch encounter, they wouldn't see me holding a camera. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So, but that's what we do, right? We go out for 4 days in the forest, get all beat up and battered around, and then we come home and we go back out in the woods.
Glutton for punishment.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Yeah. I got a text today. On Saturday during the day, I guess you went to Gettysburg.
Yes. No, Friday.
Friday. Yeah, it was Saturday. You were somewhere. Oh, you went to Mr. Ed's
Yes.
and stuff, I guess, with Heather. We had gone to, I took a group where we went to the Cemetery Road, and that there's supposed to be a
That's what it
cemetery at
was.
the
Yeah.
bottom.
Uh-huh.
So we had walked that they walked all the way down to the bottom to Cemetery Road, and I stopped about halfway down and sat, and I knew I wasn't coming back up that hill.
Right.
And there's some caves that Terry wanted to go find, and the caves are completely overgrown, and they're not real caves. Crystal wouldn't even be able to get into them, but
Yeah. They're
they'd
like
be good
rock
coyote.
outcroppings.
Yeah, there'd be good coyote dens and stuff like
Okay.
that. She wanted to go check them out. They were cool to see before, but completely overgrown. Can't even get to them anymore. It's so thick over there from when they logged. It's so the underbrush is so thick. But anyway, after that, we went to another location to some old abandoned buildings. They're just the foundations now. And when we were coming back out, one of the newbies, Heather, and Patty and Terry were together. They were the last ones coming out, and they heard a growl. They thought it was fairly close. But when Heather said she saw it, Kira started snapping pictures, and she called it, and it was a black bear.
Okay, I was wondering what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell from the first photo, which was black and white, if it was a stump squatch.
Yeah.
You know?
If you look right in the center of it, right in the center of that black and white image, you can see the
I see
eyes
the
and the
face.
nose.
I see it clearly.
Yep. After you know it's a black bear, you can see it right between the.
I didn't think I would because it looks pixelated.
Yeah, it is sort of pixelated, but from the tree in that little Y there, you can see the nose, you can see the snout and the eyes. So yeah, there it is. You can clearly see that it's a bear. And then the second picture, obviously, is it far away.
Right.
But
well, you know what I say, right? If you have to draw circles around something,
yeah,
it ain't there.
Yeah. But that's
cool.
That's the bear.
Yogi, hey, boo boo.
Yeah. So
well, hey, that explains. You see, that's the thing that I really like, and something that the attendees really got to see firsthand over these last 4 days was how we, really analyze things. And again, it goes back to like our interview with Todd about Occam's razor, right? We don't just think everything's a squatch.
Right.
We actually do the follow-up, and we do what we need to do to ascertain what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good research.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. That's the way to do it,
Yeah.
So any other comments that you can think of?
I don't think so.
Did I cover pretty much everything?
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, had our recap on Sunday. Had some good breakfast down at the Flamingo.
True. Wait, you had breakfast Sunday at the Flamingo?
Oh, I did have breakfast Sunday at the Flamingo.
After
we packed up and left, I had to get gas. My light came on. I said, I got to go get gas. So we drove down. I'm at Rutter's. I'm putting gas in the car, and Brian's there, and he's putting gas in the car. And Skylar goes, I'm going to go in and get breakfast. And Terry says, the Flamingo's down there. So we went down there and got breakfast. So it was a game day decision,
Yeah. But anyway, hey, this was a lot of fun. And I want to thank everybody for, again, tuning in and clicking on the video.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan and I will, continue to do this as long as we're able, physically and mentally. Thanks to our sponsors and the guys at Yeti Bars for partnering with us. Remember, YetiBars.net. Put in that STP10 at checkout and you get 10% off and free shipping at what?
$75.
It's a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah, we actually did a little Yeti bar commercial. Remember Sunday morning before you went to go have breakfast? I'm kidding. We actually did a little Yeti bar commercial. That was the last thing that we did before wrapping up and everybody said goodbye. Met some cool new people, and hopefully we'll get out with them again soon.
Yeah.
Back into the woods. But hey, it was an experience I won't soon forget.
So, yeah, we had a good time.
Thanks for allowing me to participate in it with you.
Yeah, thanks for running it.
So, if you're listening still at this point, thanks for squatching and liking and subbing and sharing all those good things. I always like to say, keep an eye on everyone. We love you, and stay safe and stay well.
That's right. Thanks for squatching.
Bonus blooper material.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks for clicking on the video. I want to thank you for supporting our channel and sharing it with your friends and family. It really helps us to grow. So if you don't mind, give us a like and a share. And hey, wouldn't hurt to subscribe.
That's right.
I was hoping Heather would come in because she gets done at 8:00. She worked a triple today. And, I was hoping that she would walk in and then, but I could always edit it out. We're not doing it live, you know. I thought we would just do like a recap. The last show was a pre-expedition live stream. This will be the PA expedition recap. Sound good?
Yep.
Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'll add some audio or some recordings or whatever. I also have, don't move, Josh. He's going to send me some of the video that he took with night vision.
Okay.
And anyway, I think we should probably start, by introducing a. Can you hear that?
A little bit.
Okay, I'll edit that. But your lighting changed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Welcome home. Welcome back. Look like you have a nice tan. Don't worry, you look better than me. Where was I?
12-hour shift today.
Hey, shut the door. Don't you see that red light's on? The men's team. Gotta have some blooper material, right? Hey.
Sure.
It wouldn't help to subscribe. Okay. We just got back. All right, where's my head? Okay. You're great, by the way. You sit right there. You're like, I know I'm gonna just blend right in. When I do a jump cut, I can't even tell because you don't move.
That's right.
So, and we did as you were there, of course, a little Yeti commercial. And we'll send it to the guys at Yeti. Also, let them know that it's there. That's a wrap.
Cool.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Squatch Talks Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and give us a like. And stay tuned for more exciting stories on Squatch Talks.